Good afternoon and welcome as you view with us this little special programme that we're putting together. A sister and I would like to say a few words. Lord, how can I repay? Well, we have to agree, very difficult. But we do like to repay the Lord for the goodness that He has poured into our lives and for the ministry that He has entrusted into our hands. We're recording here from the dining room in St. Patrick's Presbytery, the very place where we celebrated 194 Masses, and you came with us on that journey. I remarked at the time that in this dining room there had been many a good meal served, and in the very best of company. But the meal of the Eucharist, which was celebrated here so many times, was the greatest meal of all, and in the best company, the company of our Lord. So let us pray, first of all, the prayer of St. Ignatius. Lord, teach me to be generous, teach me to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to look for rest, to labour and not to seek reward except that of knowing that I do your holy will. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Alright, so we're going to share with you a few thoughts of this wonderful journey that we have been on. I was going to say this completed journey, but the journey is not complete yet, because we do believe that we have much to offer and we can contribute much yet to the Church and to God. So, sister, if you don't mind, we'll share what you have to say first, and then I will say a few words afterwards.
Thanks, Father. It's not unusual I get the first word. I certainly don't get the last. It's good that we are able to spend this short time with you tonight, sir, to share with you some of our experiences and thoughts as we come to the conclusion of our ministry here in St. Patrick's. We arrived here in August 1995, and the people knew that the new priest was coming and that he was bringing with him a pastoral assistant, a nun, and they weren't quite sure what this nun was going to be like. and when I arrived, I didn't quite fit the picture that a lot of people had envisaged. But through the time here, we came to a great level of understanding between myself and the parishioners, and maybe their opinions or thoughts of what a pastoral assistant should be has changed as well. When I came here at first, I was still working in school part-time, and I divided my time between school and the parish. After some time, that proved to be a bit difficult because the busy times in school tended to be the busy times in the parish, and so after some thought, it was decided that I would move into full-time parish ministry here in St Patrick's. And at this point, I would really like to thank Father Sweeney for enabling me to exercise pastoral ministry in St Patrick's, because I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but religious sisters can really only function properly in a parish and be effective in a parish setting if they have the acceptance and support of the parish priest. And that's not always the case. But here in St Patrick's, I would have to say that I have been treated by Father and the parishioners more or less as an equal, and with a positive contribution to make to parish life. I say that's not always the case, but it really has proved to be the situation here in St Patrick's. And it's something I really value very much, because I have experienced the opposite situation, and that's not pleasant. So my first thing I want to do is to thank the parishioners of St Patrick's, not just St Patrick's Parish, because we've got a parish community here which is wider than just the confines of the parish, but I want to thank them for their acceptance of me and the support that they've given me all throughout 25 years that I've been working here in St Patrick's, even although initially I wasn't quite what they expected me to be. My experience of parish community has been a very positive one. There's certain things stand out, or times that stand out. A few years back I had a health scare, and I was absolutely overwhelmed by the care and the concern which was expressed by people while I was ill, in so many different ways. They sent cards, flowers. I even got a Celtic card signed by the Celtic team, which has prized possession. And that in itself, that experience in itself, brought out to me how important a sense of community is, and how comforting it is to feel part of that community. And I certainly have felt very much part of that community here in St Patrick's. Through the 25 years, I've worked in different ways with different groups of people in the parish, and would like to think of them now, many of them, as friends, because we have shared lots of experiences together, happy times and sad times, and I treasure the friendships that I have made here in St Patrick's, and I know that those friendships won't die tomorrow. There's a tremendous sense of generosity in the parish, particularly with people's time. As you know, we have the hall and the church very much work together here, and we have a tea room which has been on the go and has been a focal point of life in Coatbridge for a number of years now. But we can only have that because we have so many people who are willing to volunteer. We have many people who volunteer in the tea room that give of their own time to serve other people. We have a group of special needs youngsters who also help in the tea room, and they bring so many good times to us and give us all a laugh and lighten things. So I'm very grateful to all of those people. Also in the tea room during the day, we have a wee tea room shop going for religious goods. And again, that is so dependent on the people who are willing to give their time to stand there and assist people who want to buy some religious goods. And there's a lot of work for that goes on behind the scenes. The stock has to be priced and labelled, and especially when it comes to near Christmas time, when we've got a whole load of cribs and religious Christmas goods there. We can spend days working on that, and I'm very grateful to those people who give up their time to do that and to help. We're very much into community, helping community, that we all try to make our own contribution to building up the community, and our hall really has been a tremendous source of community here for many, many people. Yes, the tea room did bring in some money to the parish, but that wasn't its objective. Its objective was to build community, and that's why we find it so hard just now that we can't really open up again, because there are so many, at this time, because there are so many restrictions, that it would go contrary to what our tea room is all about, building community, people sharing time with each other. St Patrick's also became known for some of the functions that we have in the hall. We would have Christmas dances, we would have something Easter time, Halloween, St Andrew's night, all those kind of things. And our aim was that these functions would be open to people and not be prohibitive because of cost. So instead of bringing in caterers, we try to do it ourselves. And again, that is so dependent on people who are willing to serve rather than to sit down and be served. And again, we've been very fortunate in that over the time, that we have had different people who have come and given their time, and I say willing to serve rather than be served. We had lots of laughs when trying to set up the hall and decorate it for Halloween, or use balloons, and for St Andrew's Day, and I say it's the one time in the year when St Patrick's goes blue and white. Most of the time our colour schemes would tend to be the green version, but for St Andrew's night we'd go to town with the blue and white and St Andrew's cross and all the rest of it. But I say we had many laughs in setting up the hall and trying to get the meal going. We had some hairy moments as well, and of course I was the essence of calmness, and I don't think anybody would believe that. But so all those things help to make up this sense of community, which I certainly value very much. And another group of people I would like to thank are the people who are involved in the liturgy. There's the music ministry obviously is powerful here in St Patrick's, and again people so willing to give their time. But we also have readers and Eucharistic ministers, and I was responsible for drawing up the rotas, and sometimes I made some mistakes, and in fact there was one period last year where I'd put out the rota for, I think it was Holy Week or something, and we were on Mark 3 by the time we got it right. But again, people were very understanding, and although they teased me about it, they went along with it. When the lockdown started, way back 19th of March, and then the church was closed completely a couple of days later, it was awful, and it was an awful experience for you and an awful experience for us, particularly for Father, because his line of communication with his people had been cut, and that was traumatic for him really. So when we were able to put our heads together and have a go at trying to put on the online masses, it made a tremendous difference to us and to lots of people lots of parishioners and beyond who bothered to email us and phone in and say how helpful they had found that. And I know that it meant a tremendous amount to Father, because the day we realised that we could maybe do this and put on the online masses was a momentous day, and there really was, I could see the change in Father right away. His mood was immediately lifted, that he now had a line of communication with his people, and that's what it proved to be, and we're very grateful for that. This session tonight, I'm glad we have it, because although the church is now open for Mass, it's very restricted, and we're only allowed 50 at every Mass. So even on a Sunday we can have 6 Masses. That only caters for 300 people. But we would normally have a congregation of between 13 and 1400 at weekend Masses. So it's only a sense a drop in the ocean. But that tonight gives us the opportunity to reach out to those of you who have not been able to come to Mass for different reasons. Maybe you haven't been able to get a place, but some people are still very afraid to go into crowds, and so there's lots of parishioners that we haven't been able to speak to face, and to say our goodbyes to. And tonight gives us an opportunity to do that, and I personally am very grateful for that, because I can think of lots and lots of people who are faithfully coming to our church every week, so lots of them midweek as well, and because of the coronavirus situation they haven't ventured out yet, and so it gives me and Father the opportunity just to reach out to them and to thank them for all the support and help and encouragement that they have given us over the past 25 years. Over the last couple of weeks, I have been overwhelmed by the gifts and notes of thanks that I have received from many of you. And again, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you for that. And thank you especially for all the friendship and support and love that you have given to me over a long period of time. And I hope it's just au revoir.
All right, Sister, thank you very much indeed for sharing so much with us, and indeed for giving us an insight into much of the work and the activity that goes on here at St. Patrick's. Now, I've just got a few thoughts that I would like to add myself. And the first thing I would like to say is that I mentioned already, today is D-Day, it's Departure Day. It's the day when we pull down the curtain on an absolutely glorious time here in St. Patrick's in Coatbridge. Their ministry has been so valued by us. The whole experience or journey has been just absolutely marvellous. Sister Moira, Kathleen, the housekeeper, and I came here on the same day in August 1995, and there is something appropriate about us winding up our work here at St. Patrick's and leaving on the same day. But I have to say that this is a day that we have been putting off, trying to pretend, I suppose, that it would never come. But it is inevitable, and the passing of time is something that we have no control over, and the time, we often feel, is a thief. It steals great chunks of our lives. Now, we've been here for 25 years. It's a long time in any one place. But as I said, it's been a glorious time. It will always be regarded by me as the golden era in my life anyway. And Sister has shared that journey and path with me all the way in St. Patrick's, but before that in St. Michael's in Moodiesburn for a few years. The Bishop Divine, that is, came to St. Michael's, and he put it to me that he would like me to come along and become the parish priest of St. Patrick's in Coatbridge. Now, I knew that St. Patrick's had quite a reputation for being a hub parish, a central parish, and I regarded that as a great compliment that he would entrust such a wonderful parish to my care. And I know that I sincerely and honestly prayed that I would be up to the job and that I would be able to lead the parish. At the time I thought it might be 5 years, it might be 10 even, but my goodness, 25, yes, a very long time. I'd just like to go through a few of the significant points in my life. Well, I was born in Ballycroy in County Mayo, and I was born to George and Anne Sweeney. My father, George, was a man of many talents. He was a jack of all trades, but he was master of them all as well. He was a farmer, he was a shopkeeper, he could shoe horses, he could do all kinds of things. Nothing was beyond him. And even as children, we were constantly learning. We were in the university of life, and we were sharing all that my dad had to teach us. Unfortunately, he was not alive. He had died before I even considered studying for the priesthood, but my mother was still there, and she was the driving force. I have to say that there's no doubt about it. She was my main inspiration, and she pointed me in the direction of religious life, and that was mainly by example and the inspiration that she gave. I have no doubt about that. I remember the day that I left home to go to the seminary, and her last words to me going out the door was, "If you ever feel that you're not in the right place, come straight home." That was a great thing for me, because it meant there was no pressure on me from family or anybody else to pursue my desire to be a priest. Tony, my oldest brother, died when he was 58. Helen is still going strong and also a great supportive inspiration to me, and is most prayerful and sharing in my ministry. Mary, who has often visited St. Patrick's and is known by many people here, and we often get a good laugh because she's always busy with something. She can sit down, even in the chapel house she has to be polishing or getting food ready or something, but that's Mary, and she will never change. Kathleen, my sister, died when she was 47. She's got a most wonderful family, lovely girls and a son, and many a happy time we have. Una, but we called her Freddie when she was growing up, but it really means Winifred. But when she went to college, all of a sudden she had got the name Una, and her friends and so on call her Una, but we still call her Freddie. But poor Freddie, her husband Jim died recently, and unfortunately I wasn't able to attend because of the enormous workload that we had here round about that time, catching up with sacraments such as baptism, first confession, first Holy Communion, and confirmation. Also, we had the ordination of a deacon and the presentation of Beni Morenti medals to 5 of our excellent parishioners. Georgie. Hello, Georgie. Georgie is older than me, but some people say he looks younger. Anyway, Georgie followed in my father's footsteps. I'll tell you the story, you might have heard it before. Our Aunt Winnie came from Cleveland, to spend a holiday in Ballycroy. 1953, I was 8. And sometimes when an adult would meet a child, the first question would be, what are you going to be when you grow up? And we were going off to a sports day. And of course, if you had 2 shillings in your pocket, you were rich. You could buy ice cream and lots of things. You could go up on the swing boats and all kinds of things. It was sports day in Ballycroy. And my Aunt Winnie said to Georgie going out the door, what are you going to be when you grow up? And he said, I'm going to be a farmer. She gave him a shilling. She said to me, Eamon, what are you going to be when you grow up? I said, I'm going to be a priest. I got half a crown. Now at the time, I suppose I have to be honest and say I told a lie. Because at the time, I hadn't the foggiest notion of being a priest. But I thought the strategy would work, and it did. So that's Georgie. Georgie is a busy man. He's an undertaker, he's a shopkeeper, he's a farmer. Always, again, takes after my father. In his footsteps, he can turn his hand to most things. By the way, Georgie, you did promise you'd give me 3 sheep when I would retire. So I'll be calling to visit you. My younger sister, Nan, died when she was 5. I was 8. And I remember it well, even to the present time. She was a playful, lovely girl. And her death was sudden and unexpected. Then we're still more. That brings us to 10. So Nuala, hello. Nuala lives in Castleknock in Dublin, and a very religious girl and very faithful to her parish, and very hospitable to me when I happen to pop along. The welcome is always on the mat, and the kettle is on the boil. And then I come to the youngest of the family, Joe. Joe and his lovely wife Margaret were shopkeepers for the great part of their life. They got deeply involved in the retail trade and only recently retired. So you're blazing a trail, Joe, for me. So happy retirement to both of you. Anyway, that's the family. I went off to study for the priesthood at the age of 18, and as I said, my mother told me, if you feel you're in the wrong place, come straight home. The door is open. That took the pressure off me. So life in the college was very, very good. It was very pleasant. And one thing that I noticed about it more than anything else was that you were treated as an adult, and you had a voice that the staff were willing to listen to. They mightn't act on it, but at least they would listen. But I did walk a tightrope, and this is something that perhaps the people of St. Patrick's don't know about me. I did walk a tightrope for a little while. And what happened was that the parish priest in Ballycroy at that time, won't mention his name, but he wrote a report to the college authorities about me, which could actually have ended my time in the college and my prospects of becoming a priest. He said that I drove a travelling shop and that I had a mercenary bent about me, that I could have been a mercenary young man. That would that would make a lot of people at St. Patrick's laugh, because they would say, well, he was right in a sense. But the college authorities would frown on that. I was only helping out the family, and I was summoned before the dean of the college, and he said to me, we've had a report from your parish priest, and this is quite serious. So he spelled out to me what the parish priest had said, and I said to my father, I said, my mother's a widow, And when I go on holidays home, I don't like to hang around doing nothing. I like to contribute. So they give me a job working the travelling shop. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no. He said, "Thank you, Mr. Sweeney, off you go." And I never heard again anything about it, although I was on tenterhooks. But I often wonder, in the meantime, if I had got the boot, where would I be? What would I be doing? But I have a good idea I wouldn't be in St. Patrick's anyway. Right, so I came to Motherwell Diocese, and I worked in various parishes. And I have to say this, that I've never had a problem that I couldn't get around. Every single parish I worked in, and I'll name them quickly, St. Cuthbert's in Burnbank, just for a little while, a summer appointment. St. Bridget's, Baillieston, wonderful experience there. St. Columba's View Park, only for a year, but again, met many friends. In fact, some of the people that I met there and formed lasting friendships with have died recently, which was quite sad. Joe and Kathleen. I went from there to St. Mark's in Rutherglen, Fernhill, and there I formed a great relationship and friendship with an old priest, Canon Kilpatrick. What makes me laugh is that when I met him, and I thought he was a real old priest and why he was still hanging around, he was about 10 years younger than what I am now. But he really was a great old priest. And I'll tell you a story about him. He phoned me up when he heard that I was coming to work with him. And he said, "Why don't you come over for your lunch?" And that to me, you wouldn't believe how great that was, because it was the first line of acceptance and friendship. So it more or less said, "Let's have a look to see what you're like." So before the lunch anyway, he took me out to the church. He said, "I'll show you the church." And we went into the vestry, looked around, out to the sanctuary, looked around, went down the church, looked around. And I said to the canon, I said, "Canon, you know, I remember the day this church was opened." He said, "What?" He said, "How would you remember that? You're just a boy. In Ireland, 1961. I said, "Well, I saw the papal blessing in the vestry, and that was the day my dad died." Right. He walked on, then he turned and said to me, he said, "While you're here with me, you won't need a father. You won't need a father," he said. And so it proved to be right, because he was a fatherly type. And he used to go with the housekeeper Mary to Ballycroy, sometimes when they were in Ireland. And the one great story he had to tell about that was that when they were sitting down to the dinner in Ballycroy this night, there was a power strike and everything was plunged into darkness. Nothing could be seen except a great fire in the living room. But it didn't spoil their storytelling anyway. I went from St. Mark's to St. Ninian's in Hamilton. Had a glorious 3 years there, 4 years. And Bishop Devine at the time came one day and he said to me, he said, "I'm needing a chaplain for Law Hospital, and I would like if you would take on that job." Now, Law Hospital, I was a resident in St. Thomas's in Wishaw. That was a marvellous parish. Wonderful people there in all aspects of parish life. And I was chaplain to the hospital, but residing there and helping out there as much as I could. But the one thing, it was a tough ministry, I can tell you that. It was day and night, and it was constant work in Law Hospital. But if it was tough and hard work, it was the most rewarding work that in my whole ministry, because your ministry in hospital chaplaincy is to the sick, the dying and the bereaved and people who are worried sick sitting in a visitor's room. So you ministered to all those people, but it certainly was hard, but it was very valuable when I look back on it. I went from there to St. Michael's in Moodysburn, where I became the parish priest. And the one thing that really struck me about that parish was community. It was rock solid community. You had everything you wanted: cooperation, friendship, cooperation, love, everything to make a parish tick. And again, that was where I first started working with Sister Moira. But at the time she was working full-time in a teaching post as head of the department, and would come at the weekends. And but I had known Sister for a long time before that, and we were good friends. And I think that on that subject of working with Sister, I think it only works if the priest and the pastoral assistant know each other well, can work together, share ideas, and they understand where they're coming from, and that way work is pleasant, and work with Sister, well, it was very pleasant. I have to say that sometimes I got the credit for things that Sister did, but I didn't make anyone the wiser, you know. Now it's true that sometimes she made me look good in people's eyes, but the credit will go to Sister. Bishop Divine came one day, and I can tell you exactly how he put it. I would like you to go to one of the great old parishes in Motherwell Diocese. And then I said, well, what parish is that? St. Patrick's, Coatbridge. My predecessor, Father Brosnan, a wonderful man, a very spiritual man, a very hard worker, had serious health problems and he had passed away. And a period of time passed with different priests coming and going. And then it was time to appoint a parish priest. So Bishop Divine, who was always very fair to me, very, very supportive in anything and everything. And I said to him, my Lord, I'd like to think about this for a couple of days. So he didn't say anything, and then he started to talk about Celtic. So we had a good conversation about Celtic, and talked about this and that and the other thing. And then he said to me, well, Eamon, I'd like to thank you for agreeing to go to St. Patrick's. I hadn't agreed at all, but my God, what an experience it was. We came to St. Patrick's, and Sister was still part-time, a working pastoral assistant with me. And from day one, I felt this is like a hand in a glove. This is my type of parish. This is for me. And as Sister pointed out already, from the very beginning, there was acceptance and cooperation and support, and everything that we needed was here on a plate. There was a man coming down the street, Dennis was his name. He was talking to Sister, and there were people putting in windows, replacing windows, and he said, it's great to see that. He said, at last somebody's here to stay. So for the people of the parish, St. Patrick's, we were here to stay for the long run. We're here for the long haul, and what a glorious time it has been. I mentioned at the beginning the golden era, and that is what it has been the golden era of my life. And I don't care how many winters or how long the winters are, I'll fill them all with great memories. Memories for every occasion. And the sister has gone through some of the memories that we will store and withdraw from that storage space. And first of all is the church and the rock solid commitment of the people, the response to gospel values, the kindness, the generosity, the spirit of acceptance. It was a priest's parish, a heavenly parish. It was my parish, my type of parish. So the church was a busy place, and it was wonderful to see the church packed 4 times every Sunday. Lots of fun and laughter, throngs of children, people busy with everything that was going on. It was a hive of activity, not just on Sundays, weekdays as well. And then Sister has talked about the tea room. Well, the tea room was an absolute gem in our parish. It was more than a place where you could get a cup of tea. You could get friendship, you could get love, I thoroughly enjoyed going into the tea room. There were days when I said, don't go into that tea room, because if you do, you're supposed to be in school or in hospital or something like this. Don't go in there, because if you go in, you'll stay half the day. But it was more than a tea room. It was a communication base. It has a social aspect to it. If you looked at the different groups of people in there enjoying themselves, it was, and of course the workforce was there to drive it on. When I say workforce, if you put together all the people who worked there, people who worked in the bar, people who worked with liturgical activities, readers, Eucharistic ministers, children's liturgy, St. Vincent de Paul, I could go on and on. And then the Friends Together Club, which was a marvellous thing in our parish. If you put all those workers together, we were talking about 250 people working actively on a weekly basis in the parish. The one regret that I have about all of that is that the Friends Together Club, we had it going for a few years, but I'm sorry that we hadn't it going a lot longer, because it proved to be an absolutely wonderful thing in our parish. It was probably one of the happiest occasions in our parish. People laughing, people dancing, people singing, eating. It was wonderful. We put out a letter there at the weekend because we felt that, okay, we're facing a camera now. God knows how many people are viewing. But we felt it was going to be a bit much, and maybe a little touch too emotional, to face up to 6 masses on Sunday and to express our farewell. But one of the great things, this letter that we sent, that we put out, had a whole lot of data, things that we wanted to say. Kathleen wrote her piece as well. It was a lovely piece from Kathleen. The sister and I had made a contribution to that letter at the weekend. It gave some statistics. Amongst them, in the past 25 years, we baptised over 2,000 children. Conducted, I think it was 800 or 900 funeral services, 600 and something marriages. So, the one thing that, another statistic that I will throw out to you now, which gives an indication as to the spirit of generosity. I'm bowled over, I'm overwhelmed with the generosity of the people of this parish. They are absolutely tops. The minute you put an appeal before them, they're onto it right away. And sometimes, I remember once we set a target for a priest in Nigeria wanted to build a hospital in his native place. And he put it to me, so I put the appeal to the people. And I said that we had a plan to raise £25,000. It took off like wildfire. And in the end, we raised £64,000 for that one appeal. But the amount of money raised in special collections and charitable causes and appeals of one kind or another over that period was £1,098,000. Now, I know you say that's a lot of money. I say it's fantastic. But it's not because it's such a great load of money, but it's because people are generous. Now, for so many years, I've been up on that pulpit there, and I have been preaching generosity, kindness, understanding, mercy, love, and 1,000 other things. So when I see things like that happening, I say, well, the message is getting through. And the seeds of what I'm trying to say are being sown in generous hearts. It's a wonderful parish. It's a truly wonderful parish and community. And I know that. I don't need to be told it. I see it myself. St. Patrick's Parish has got boundaries, like every other parish, but we go far beyond those boundaries. And we are very aware of the global dimension of kindness and generosity and love. Now, when we put out the appeal for something, it could be in Nigeria, it could be Uganda, it could be Haiti, you take to it, and you take it to your hearts. That makes me very happy, believe me, because it tells me that you understand the gospel and that you are working on implementing the gospel. Liturgy. Strong in liturgy. And again, Sister Moira is responsible for driving the liturgy to a great extent. Very often, all I have to do is go out and put my vestments on, walk out and say Mass. Music. Rich music ministry throughout. Lots of people involved, the very best of people. I used to laugh sometimes when some of these experts in liturgical music, sacred music, would say to me, Father, what do you think would be suitable for this Mass or that Mass? And I myself know that they know 10 times more about it than I do, and yet they would give me my place to suggest a hymn or something, but I was always happy to say, look, you know more about this than I do. Surprise me. And they would. Music was very strong, but all aspects of the liturgy, and we had a marvellous team of people working, sometimes behind the scenes, working quietly, preparing for Christmas, preparing for Easter, various other liturgical celebrations throughout the year. An army of people. You would have leaders amongst them. They would enlist other people. Just brilliant, absolutely. And a priest's dream, my dream, realised in you, the people of the parish. During the online masses, of course, we didn't have live music because in the vicinity of the Mass, or in a church, the sanctuary area, all that was allowed was the priest and one person. The priest plus one, and that's still the case. And in our case here in St. Patrick's, well, I was the priest and the one person was Sister Moira. But not only that, but you couldn't change that one person throughout the series of online masses. It had to be the one same person all the time. And Sister Moira was the technician behind the scenes, behind the camera, and there were some scary mornings, but it worked out. It always seemed to work out in the end. As I said to you early on, we had 194 online masses altogether. We also had other celebrations like the favourite hymns to Our Lady and so on. I would like to say a word about the school. Got a vibrant primary school here, and with an excellent team, leaders, management, excellent. Great relationship between the church and the school, and a vibrant school and staff, and the most welcoming place, you know, very, very competent, and the management always willing to advise on to discuss things like how to go about first communions and confirmation and so on. A real pleasant experience to visit the primary school, and glorious, wonderful people working there. Yes, I was just going to say that over the time that we've been streaming the Mass from here, we would have picked over 800 pieces of music, and Sister again was responsible for most of that. But we did use music from Marilla Ness, the Dugan Sisters, also James Kilban, all the way from Mayo, and of course our own folk group here in St. Patrick's, who supplied a lot of the music on CD. It was great. Now, I mentioned in the letter there, every parish will experience happy and sad occasions. And it's part and parcel of a priest's life to enter into the happy occasions with celebrating families and to share the grief and the sorrow of families who are bereaved and are in mourning. So we've had both, and you can have both types of experience in the same day. But again, the parish is strong and we are a community. And as we find from the Gospel, we are brothers and sisters in Christ. And when some are suffering, when we all share their grief, when people are happy, like the occasion of a marriage or a baptism, we share that as well. So Sister and I have come to the end of our ministry. We can't have any regrets, although there are little regrets here and there. Like, for instance, not being able to visit the sick and the housebound during this difficult time. One regrets the other regrets as well, but the happy occasions outweigh the sad ones. So Sister and I and Kathleen have come to the end of the ministry in St. Patrick's. And the Bishop Toll, who has also been most supportive to me personally and to all of our clergy, and very supportive in these difficult times. But Bishop Toll has generously given me a lovely place to live. That is in the presbytery at St. Bridget's in Newmains, not far from Wishaw. And that's where I would be, not all of the time, but some of the time, because other parts of my time will be spent in Ireland, where I will have more time to go around and visit the members of my family that I mentioned to you at the beginning. I want to thank Sister for travelling this great journey with me and for being so supportive and loyal in everything that I tried to do. I deeply appreciate that, Sister, and I thank you. And of course Kathleen was, well, everything that I would expect in a housekeeper. Strong, kind, always polite, courteous, helpful to people who came to the door, people on the phone, and especially to Sister and to me. Thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks, Kathleen.
And let's hope that all three of us have still a journey to travel. Thank you, and God bless you, and goodbye.
Awake from your slumber, arise from your sleep. A new day is dawning for all those who weep. The people in darkness have seen a great light. The Lord of our longing has conquered the night. Let us fill the sea of love. May our tears be turned into dancing. For the Lord, our light and our life, We are sons of the morning. We are daughters of day. The one who has loved us has brightened our way. Let us build the city of God. May our tears turn music and sing. For the Lord our light and our love has turned the night into day. God is light. In Him there is no darkness. Let us walk in His light. His children one and all. Oh, comfort my people. Make gentle your words. Proclaim to my city the day of her birth. Let us build a city